Newcastle United beat Chelsea 2-0 to go through to the quarterfinals for the League Cup. The big question is, will they keep the momentum going and do the same thing against Arsenal this weekend? Find out here on Toon Tactics TV. All right. Evening, all to you guys. I hope you are well. I hope you had a great Thursday. Whether you're working, whether you're on the way to work, whether you just finished, whether you just put the kids down, maybe you're cleaning the house, whatever you guys are doing, whatever you folks are doing, I hope you're well. Guys, so incredible victory for Newcastle against Chelsea. We're going to review that a little bit and kind of in light of obviously the upcoming fixture against Arsenal this weekend. But as always, guys, for those that are coming in, do remember to like, share, and subscribe. Let me know how you're doing, how you're feeling, and let me know who would be your starting lineup for Arsenal this weekend. So, as described, I want to first kind of review the Chelsea game a little bit in the light of to see all the things that we've done right, and hopefully that we can also kind of take into the Arsenal game this weekend at St. James's Park. I want to first kind of go into where is it? Here we go. I wanted to first go into, obviously, we won 2-0, and we kind of this is the lineups that we had, did really well. Zoomed in a little bit there. But guys, what did you think of the victory? I thought it was absolutely brilliant. The things that we talked about in our preview show together about the importance of the press, they just nailed it. Newcastle United really nailed it. But look, this was obviously, first of all, let's go back to go forward. This was the starting lineup. We kind of talked about what the starting lineup could be. We did guess right that Joe Willock would be in the front three with Alexander Isak. We didn't know, and Eddie Howe kept this under wraps, was that Anthony Gordon was going to be available, and he joined that right side. It's very telling. Obviously, we talked about Barnes in the last game, who was lacking that confidence, so he was on the bench, and Anthony Gordon joined and played on the right instead. And then we had the midfield three of Joe Linton, Sandro Tonali, and Sean Longstaff. But really, this is how good Joe Linton and Willock can play together. They're so interchanged so well together. This is from SofaScore. SofaScore believed that it was Willock that was playing in the front three. It was actually Joe Linton that was playing in the front three. But they interchanged between each other so well that even people that might not closely follow Newcastle get it wrong all the time. And this is why I think it's very likely we're going to see Joe Willock and that left-hand side, Joe Willock and Joe Linton, and Lewis Hall join in that. Lloyd Kelly, speaking of the left-hand side, Lloyd Kelly joined together with Fabian Schär and Emil Kraft, who had a fantastic game. And it was probably in my top 3-4 men of the matches. Let me know who your man of the match was for the Chelsea game. I'm still yet to decide. There was so many good performances, but Lloyd Kelly joined the back four with Fabian Schär. And I don't know about you guys. I don't know what your thoughts are on this. But seeing Lloyd Kelly and Fabian Schär together, I just felt I felt there was an incredible balance. It's not to say that we're totally imbalanced with Dan Burn and all these type of things, but we could play from at the back, we can play on the ball. And the passing through the lines is really good. I thought Lloyd Kelly had a really good game. I thought Lloyd Kelly, and the interesting thing is, I watched the full game again, but I watched it through Chelsea's website. So I was listening to the commentators like that. And well, for them, from the Chelsea's point of view, they thought there was an incredible golfing class between Lloyd Kelly and Burn, and they really kind of rated Lloyd Kelly's performance. So that tells you a lot, especially from a position point of view. And obviously, Emil Kraft, like I mentioned, was on the right as well. So I felt that was really good. I thought our press, and we're going to talk about our press, which was the key for that game. But first, I want to talk about similarly our shape. So On the left side is the blue side. This is Chelsea. Now, Chelsea, we know from the previous game, stay very, very compact in that in the center midfield. It's what kind of undone us a little bit in the first game at Stamford Bridge, where obviously you can see here their number three. Let me take this off just for a minute. I'm going to take us off for a minute, and I'm going to bring it back on. This is Chelsea's formation. This is why we played this way. You can see the number three, which is Cucurella. In the previous game would have been Gusto. So the fullback joins the midfield three, as we said, and they flood the midfield. You'll have, as previously we had Cole Palmer and Nicholas Jackson joining in and causing mayhem and dropping in and collecting the ball and spreading it out wide to the wings, which caught us off guard, especially in the first 15, 20 minutes. In this game, obviously, we had João Felix and we had Cole Palmer, João Felix. João Felix and Nkunku. Now, we did say, and I thought that, I didn't say that they're better or worse, but I just didn't feel that the combination of João Felix and Nkunku were better than Jackson and Cole Palmer. And I would have wondered if Maresca would have been tempted to play them. Had he played Cole Palmer, Jackson, Caicedo, and possibly Colwell, it could have been it would have been a lot far closer game in my point of view. But he has players to satisfy. He's got a big squad, and he made 11 changes. We made 5 changes of our own. So look, they played how they always play. Chelsea, like they're whether it's team A or team B, they play the same way. The fullback joins in. You can see the number 3, and they overflood that midfield. And like I said, you'll have in this case you had João Felix, who had a couple chances of his own. Actually, I think he had about 3 or 4 actually shots on target, and those spread it out to the wings. They had Dewsbury Hall on the right though. Remember, we was talking about who's going to be on their right. Madueke would have to stay. It would have been better for Madueke to start the game, really, because Dewsbury Hall was never going to outrun Lewis Hall. So that's how they played. And so for us, we were going to have to be Eddie Howe needed his press to be right on point. Now, before I talk about Eddie Howe's press, I've got a couple comments here. I'm going to go to them. Davey Eddie, good to see you, sir, as always. First half, the press was phenomenal. I totally agree. And that led to their mistakes. Yes, I thought Joe Linton was outstanding. And you know what? In my view, when Joe Willock plays, Joe Linton, he lights up. That's the only way I can put it. Like, he plays even better. And sometimes, look, there's that. They've got that partnership when they know instinctively when one goes forward, maybe one presses back. They know when to make runs for each other, when and where they collect the ball. So sometimes, if you see Joe Linton collecting the ball on the touchline, for instance, in the opposition half, you see Joe Willock breaking the lines to give him a passing option or to get the defenders out the way so Joe Linton could cut in. So that kind of stuff. If I'm Harvey Barnes, even if I'm Gordon and I'm watching that, look, Joe Linton's a mainstay. You've got to figure out a way to play alongside him. And look, they got incredible partnership together. And I agree. Davey. Joe Linton was my man of the match. Joe Linton was your man of the match. Okay, yeah. Kelly was class. He was at centre back. Kraft also was very good. Did you see his Krafu-like run in the middle in the second half? Do you know, I literally forgot that I couldn't believe it was him. I was asking, who's that guy? Even though I was watching the game. And to be fair, they all did well. They all did fantastic. And it's a good position to be in when we can debate, who was man of the match, because there were so many players that played well. Kelly played well. Kraft played well. Pope played well. Joe Linton played well. Joe Willock, who for me is if not the man of the match, is joint second. Isak played well, carried on that form. I thought Gordon did okay as well. Fantastic. So it's Tonali, obviously, as well. And Bruno was outstanding when he came on. And so it's a great place to be in when your team has done well. So look, as mentioned earlier, for the folks that have just come in, guys, we're just talking that we're going to review the game. We're just reviewing the game of Chelsea's going forward, kind of take some points from there that we're going to take into the Arsenal game. This is Chelsea's formation. As always, Cucurella number 3, or it will be Gusto in the other cases. They will join in the midfield. They'll overflood that midfield and they'll ping that ball to either their wide men, who in this case were Dewsbury Hall, later Madueke, and Mudryk. as well, who was having his opportunities as well until Joe Linton was put onto that side. You'll have Nkunku and João Felix in particular dropping in, trying to cause havoc. But the press, our press, was so good that it minimalized them. And this is how good our press was. I'm going to bring back our part. So this is Newcastle, going from top down. So top down. So at the top, you see number 5, which is Shah, and right at the bottom, you got there, down to number 14 there. Let me make sure you guys can see this. Can you see this? Yes, you can. You have obviously Isak, and this is what impressed me the most so far. And if you guys can see this, right, obviously, is just how. We knew that Chelsea wanted to overflood that midfield. Look how we packed it out so well. I don't know if you guys can see this, but number 10, Gordon, just behind him, literally blocking those channels between Gordon and number 14, Isak, Sean Longstaff. And then you've got, obviously, Isak, number 14, just behind him. You've got Tonali blocking those channels between Isak and Joe Linton. And just behind him, you had Joe Willock, who for me was at least man of the match in the first half, but Lewis Hall was incredible as well. I didn't even mention Lewis Hall. It was just behind him as well. So we totally blocked off their middle channels. And that forced their front three to always have to come back. But they weren't able to get the ball either. So the job of our front 6 player was absolutely incredible. And in support, obviously, we had our fullbacks and were able to invert a little bit at times, with Lewis Hall and Kraft doing really well. But it just made their jobs. It also made their jobs a lot easier in marking João Felix, in marking Dewsbury Hall, in marking Nkunku. It just made it a whole lot easier. So even if Chelsea chose to go direct, many of those times they were cut off. Our press, our work was absolutely phenomenal. I just got the feel, and I don't know about you guys, I just got the feel that when the team, when Newcastle came out to play this game, they were so focused on righting the wrongs, right the wrongs from the previous game at Stamford Bridge. And I thought they were I thought that they just did incredibly well. I'm going to go to the highlights of those as well. Before I do that, I got one more comment here from Davey Eddie. I think you make a good point, Philip, regarding Joe Linton and Willock. They do fit well together. You remember, guys, when Eddie Howe obviously came in, especially in the first season as well, but in the second season when we had that incredible run into the Champions League, Joe Linton and Joe Willock on that left side were absolutely phenomenal. It got to the point where we would set traps for the opposition, where we'd make gaps in that midfield. They thought they could come onto that left side, and Joe Willock and Joe Linton would just, hunt those guys down, and we were able to counter press and hit many teams on the counter attack. It was phenomenal work, and we just made it absolutely impossible. And this is the highlights from I kind of freeze framed a few of those things in terms of that press. You can see this is like the first 4 minutes, the first minute and a half really as well. But, some of the stuff that I saw from the game as well. You see here, obviously, Chelsea are trying to play the ball out from the back. This is Dewsbury Hall on the right-hand side, but he's in his own half. Lewis Hall is hunting them down. You got Vega, who was playing on the right side of their midfield. Joe Willock is here, right on him, so he's not a passing option. Joe Linton here is next to Disasi, Isak, Tonali, and look how high up here. Nkunku, because the ball isn't getting over to him, is having to be in his own half to try and be there to collect the ball. Do the same kind of thing that Jackson was doing. When he collects the ball and spins off was spinning off Burn and just causing those types of havoc. Well, Lloyd Kelly is not Burn. He has got the pace. He has got the athleticism to stay tight. And that's exactly what he did to Nkunku. And obviously, Cucurella here, obviously, the fullback, the left fullback, who's, again, is here trying to cause an overload in the midfield, is because, but it's not working because, again, Lloyd Kelly is able to come in and press. Hall is pushing up, and it allows Longstaff a lot more freedom, a lot more focus to be able to focus on Cucurella and stop the ball from getting to him. So the press was absolutely phenomenal. Another example of the press, again, Chelsea attempting to play out from the back. And this is what we was talking about. Again, you can see here, like we was talking about, Gordon and Isak this time the furthest man forward, but right behind them, you've got Sean Longstaff, Cucurella trapped in between them. Isak right behind him, I think it's Enzo Fernandez, trapped between Tonali. Vega's about to get the ball, but then Isak's free. No, not Isak. Joe Willock is there. So Joe Willock's this time central. Remember, Joe Willock is meant to be on the left side. He's now even central, like a number 10. In fact, the Chelsea commentators were saying that Joe Willock seems to be playing a hybrid number 10 role. It kind of emphasizes, and he was on the left side as well, it emphasizes just how well, in my view, Joe Willock was playing, that he was absolutely everywhere, where you couldn't tell if he's a hybrid 10, if he's an 8. He was doing absolutely well. Going against, and this is him about to press Vega, and it leaves free Joe Linton to go on Disasi if the ball comes to him. And you know that obviously not too far behind them, you'll have Hall, you'll have Kelly making sure, pressing up against Nkunku and others. And Chelsea were just really suffocated. They couldn't get through. Here is another example. Again, this time Joe Willock joining Isak in the press. Given Vega absolutely no, Vega wants to, in this instant, Vega wants to pass through the middle. He wants to pass through the center, but he just can't do it. He just can't pass through that center because they're just blocking the gaps. Tonali is just behind them, blocking off Fernandez again. Cucurella is joining him, as we said, to flood the banks, but he can't. And Newcastle did it in such a clever way this time. They didn't. Sometimes when you see Gordon here in the far here, you think he's not. He wants Vega to pass to Badiashile here, but he's not. He's allowing him that distance just to make him feel that pass is on, and then he'll come down and close him down. Sean Longstaff is just behind him again, there to support. Joe Linton there again. It just became impossible for these Chelsea players to play through the centre like they wanted to, and it just became absolutely intolerable. And this is what eventually led to the goal again, and this is just before the goal. This time again, they tried to press through the center, and what happens? I think we're blocked off the pass to Nkunku here. So I think it's Joe Willock that's got the ball, is passing off to Isak. But just before that, they tried to pass it off Nkunku. Who's right behind Nkunku, ready to press him? You got it. It's Lloyd Kelly, and who's right next to him, next to Cucurella and him? It's Longstaff. And it was Joe Willock who's able to go in centre because they're pressing so high. He's got the freedom to really, really push, to squeeze. He's able to block off that pass. And who's just in front of him? It's Tonali. This press was and they was able to block them off. And now, if this pass went directly to Isak, if he was passed a little bit ahead of him, he would have been through on goal. For instance, Gordon's on the other side. Joe Linton's about to join in. It was absolutely fantastic. And the Chelsea commentators, because I watched it for the Chelsea channel, made this comment about, and in part they were right. They were saying, look, and I can't remember how many times they said after they were saying, like, but it's not like Newcastle, like carved us open or played us through, But and that is to an extent true. We actually started doing that in the second half a lot more, but the pressing game, pressing in this way, in this intensity, keeping a high line is another way to create chances and to create goals. They made the mistake, I feel, the commentators are saying this, it's only because of our errors. But you don't cause errors without being pressured. And Newcastle caused a lot of pressure on Chelsea that forced those errors in the first place, and eventually led to our goal, which I'm gonna show in a minute. But before I do that, I got one comment here from Hells Huzzar. I haven't seen you on here before, Hells Huzzar. Welcome to the show. Great to see you guys. Guys, for anybody who's coming new, do let me know who your man of the match for the Chelsea game is. We're just reviewing the Chelsea game just before we kind of do a preview of the Arsenal game, so see what kind of good things we can take that we've learned about Newcastle, and things to work on that we can take into the Arsenal game. Willock played an essential part. He did. Willock was absolutely phenomenal. He's looking very, very good, and I think Willock is in the second half of the first Chelsea game. I think he came in like with half an hour left. I think he played his way into this game. He looked good, and this is why we kind of selected him to play this game, and he did really, really well in my point of view. Elsazar, To be fair to Longstaff, I was watching for any mistakes. He played a part yesterday. Well done to that man. He did. He played really well. But you know, when the team is pressing so well, pressing in this coordinated manner, as you guys can see here, it helps everybody to play well. Everybody's encouraged. Look how far advanced here Tonali is. And imagine if I think this is Tosin Adebayo. He's now in a quandary in this situation. Do I go for Isak? Or he knows it's going to Isak now, but just before Willock makes that pass, he doesn't know if it's going to go to Tonali. He doesn't know if it's going to go to Isak. He doesn't know if it's going to go out wide. It's absolutely fantastic. And look, this counter press, this way of creating chances is what led to the goal for us, which I'm going to go through with you folks right now. Again, highlighting the positives from this Chelsea game before we go into the preview for the Arsenal game. And guys, as always, do let me know who your man of the match is. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. It really, really helps the channel. So where are you? Where are you? Here we go. Alexander Isak. Here we go. So we've talked about the press. So the goal that, in my view, look, the Chelsea commentators made the mistake of, they only scored because we made mistakes. This was coming. I just gave you guys about 4 or 5 freeze frames of the first from 4 minutes to about 15 minutes, let alone what happened in the first from the minute 1, really, of how Newcastle United forced Chelsea into those mistakes, forced Chelsea in those errors, squeezed the life out of them, which eventually led to this goal. Now, point being is that it didn't come by accident. So let's look at it now. You got it on the screen here. Brilliant. Let me get back to it. So you've seen it before. You've seen just how well we were pressing, especially the front six of Tonali, Isak, Gordon, Joe Linton, Willock, Longstaff, doing very, very well, pressing in a way that was blocking the central channels, especially for them. And Lewis Hall and Kelly in particular pushing up really, really high, adding that extra layer of support. There was a number of times that we caught Chelsea. We made a number of interceptions as well. This all ultimately culminated into this moment right now. Jurgensen has now got the ball. Again, we're pressing up high. This time is Joe Linton here through the center. You see Joe Willock here. Isak is furthest man here. Look what Tonali is right next to him as well. So here we go now. Jurgensen's about to get it off to Tosin Adebayo. Isak makes a move for him. Who joins them? I think it's Gordon here, Tonali here, Joe Linton here, and I think it's Joe Willock passing and making sure that there's no option here for him to pass to, I think it's Disasi. So Isak makes the run. He does it in a way where he's trying to also do a curved run and force Tosin to pass it back to Badashile, because he knows that Gordon will be off and that sets the trap. So we just missed it. I missed it just there. Excuse me. So literally, you can see that Isak's about to make a curved run to block the pass to Disasi, because he wants the ball to go to Badashile, and that's what triggers the press from Gordon to Badashile. You just watch it here. Now Gordon's watching him. He can see the pass. He's about to pass it back. Gordon is off, absolutely off. Tonali sees it as well. He's about to follow Gordon in, because that forces the Chelsea players to come back in. I think it's Correa here and Enzo Fernandez, because they can see that now Badashile is in trouble. He needs passing options now, because now it's like a domino effect. I think it's Vega here that comes to collect the ball. He's not paying attention to Joe Linton, who's on him. Tonali's on him, and this triggers the whole situation. Joe Linton Vega managed to get to the ball, but he makes a rash pass. He's not able to get it to Enzo Fernandez. Tonali's already on him. Enzo Fernandez did not want it physically in this game. Newcastle were decisive, a physical had a lot of dominion, and they blocked them off. Tonali intercepts and gets an assist actually that goes straight to Isak here. One touch, Isak, and goes right into the goal. Fantastic goal, all from the press. And it goes back to what the commentators was talking about. Oh, but they didn't score because they didn't. It's not that they scored like because they were passing through. It's only because of our mistakes. Guys, I've just seen it here in these highlights and it's not just this particular action here. Like I said, I've shown you 5-6 frames that led to this moment of Newcastle pressing. And the counter press in this particular occasion is the creative side of the game nowadays, in my opinion. And as you guys can see, from the Isak's way of curving his run, making sure the ball went to Padashile so that Gordon can set off against Padashile, force him into a one-touch pass to Vega. Vega wasn't ready. He got thrown away by Joe Linton. He made a bad pass to Enzo. Enzo didn't want that to go into a 50-50 challenge to Tonali. Tonali gets the ball of him, slides in, gets that one-touch pass to Isak, and then one-touch pass into the goal. It was a fantastic made goal from Newcastle United. And it all came as a result of that press. So really, really good from Newcastle. I was totally impressed by it. Guys, let me know what your thoughts are. And look, that led to the quick fire goal that happened 5 minutes later. It came from a set piece, actually, which was good. Isak, I don't know if you get an assist for an own goal. You probably don't. Sent the ball through, sent the ball over the top, and it ended up being an own goal. But look, like I mentioned, this was not an accident. This goal was always coming. Our press squeezed the out of Chelsea. It was coordinated. It was thought through. They had the actions. They had the plan. This was always planned, and it was done very, very well. And credit to Eddie Howe. Credit to the boys for doing that. So before I go into I want to go into just like some of the game statistics for the game and individual players. Guys, as always, for the folks that came in, like, share, and subscribe. Let me know who your man of the match was, and let me know where you're listening from. It'd be good to hear from you. Helsazar, my favorite part, from the goal, it was absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. Tonality tackle pass. Oh, tonality tackled pass from the ground. Exactly. Exactly. It was absolutely phenomenal from the boys. So let me go to I want to go to the overall kind of stats for the game as well. Let me share this with you guys. Let me make sure you guys can see it before we go to the Arsenal game itself. Let me see. Can you guys see this? I think you can. Hopefully you can. Oh no, you can't. Add to stage. Here we go. Brilliant. Right. So, look, and it's interesting because there's a reversal from the first game from Stamford Bridge where you see this momentum bar here. It was the reverse where we had the greater momentum. We had, a lot of the intent, but obviously the scoreline didn't reflect that. So, but it was, and we had 50-50 possession in that game. Here, in this game, we had about 35% possession. Chelsea had more. But I think it's because of the style of play that we chose. Not only did we choose a very high press intensity, and you'll see this bear out in the statistics. Not only did we choose a high press style, but we were also very, very direct. You would see that Lewis Hall and Shaw in particular had a high rate of long balls that were going directly to either Gordon, Willock, Isak, and others. And so we was going really, really direct in this game. So I think that's a key kind of reason as to why we kind of had the less possession. In the second half, obviously, as we know, we went into kind of a 5-4-1 shape as well. And we just said to Chelsea, come break us down, which they weren't able to do. So you'll see, obviously, kind of in the overall stats here, we had 35% possession. They had 65%. 2 big chances created for both of us. Now, they had 17 shots, but 9 of those shots were blocked. And again, This is why defensively I'm so proud of what the team done. We've seen like Lloyd Kelly have about two or three like blocked like kind of two or three gilt edge chances from Chelsea, putting his body on the line. Tonali had two shots as well. It was like a really good, and these were in the penalty box. So defensively, we were very good. Interestingly, Chelsea weren't that good because we had 8 shots on target. None of them were blocked. But sorry, we had 8 shots. I think how many were on target? I can't remember how many on target, but Chelsea had 0 blocked. So Chelsea, in their intensity, especially defensively, they did not do very well at all, in my opinion. And I think it's because they didn't want it. I don't think they wanted it from a. I think we beat the desire out of them. And this is what reminded me. And Eddie Howe saw it. You guys would have seen the post conference when he said, "This is the hallmark. This is a hallmark of a Newcastle performance." Yeah, right here. 9 block shots. So nine of those 17 shots were blocked by Newcastle United. They had 10 shots that were inside the box. Most of them were blocked. It was absolutely phenomenal from Newcastle United. Again, creating chances. Final third entries, doing really well. Our ground duels, you guys, anybody who's watching those, I'm always looking for the ground duels. I think we're about 50-50 with Chelsea, so you can see the intensity in our play. So we had less passes, but if you look at our long balls, we had 44 attempted long. Well, we had 44 long balls overall. 22 of those were accurate long balls, so 50%, which is really good, really good. And most of them were from Longstaff, Shaw, and there was a third person. I can't remember who. Maybe Pope. And that's a lot of long balls. So very direct in that. So a high pressing, very direct style, which always forced Chelsea backline and midfield to have to turn their backs and chase backwards as well. Yeah, Jules, 32 out of 64, 50-50 with Chelsea on that. Aerial duels did absolutely fantastically well in terms of all of that. I was very proud of the boys and how they played. It had intensity, it had physicality, coordinated press, a plan, a very strong plan going forward. I was totally impressed by what they did. So guys, let me know what your thoughts about that before I kind of reveal my man of the match and go into the Arsenal game. Let me know who your man of the match was for all the folks that are coming in. Who was your man of the match for this Chelsea game? Hell Cesar, that's better was on the phone watching, now on the computer. Oh, because I do a lot of PowerPoint and stuff like that. That's just my style. Glad that you can see it. A lot of people watch the show on their TVs as well. Hell Cesar, it was like watching the 22, but exactly. I agree. It was like watching the 22-23 team all over again. It was magic. Exactly. That's exactly was my thought. All that's missing was Sven Botman. Oh, it would have been great. Al would have been lovely, but he's coming back in December. So, man of the match, guys. Send in who was your man of the match performance. I like to do this on SofaScore because they let you do the individual teams. Otherwise, I'll be doing it on FotMob. But look, I'm going to start with the goalkeeper because I always start with the attack and stuff like that. Pope made 4 saves. And he wasn't looking overly convincing in the first Chelsea game. He was doing a lot better in this one. He was given the highest rating. I thought he was fantastic. 3 punches as well. Sometimes I feel like he can claim them, but it is what it is. But he done really well as well. And he's probably my top 3, top 4 for man of the match. But in terms of attack, if we look who had most of our shots on target, it was we only had 2 guys that had a shot on target, and that was Alexander Isak and Lewis Hall, which is interesting. But we also obviously hit the post on 2 occasions as well, through Osola and through Joe Linton, hit the woodwork. So it doesn't reveal everything in terms of that. Shots off target, Joe Willock, 3, Sandro Tonali, 1. He only had that shot outside the box. Joe Linton, That the one that hit the pot. He should have scored. He really should have scored, Joe Linton. And obviously Usolo. How do you guys think Usolo did when he came on? I thought he was really good. Pace, power, was harassing everybody. He's been a real pain in the backside to the opposition. And he made a sort of performance in my perspective where he's saying, I am here. I am here. If you need me, Eddie, I am ready and I'm raring to go. And that's the most you can do. So yeah, I thought it was really, really it was a really good performance from him as well. A few guys again, Chelsea, no one had their shots blocked. Chelsea defensively just were not at the races. And this is the surprising part. Dribble attempts and successes as well. Joe Linton, 4 dribble attempts, 3 successful. Anthony Gordon, 4 attempts, 2 of them successful. Emil Kraft, or better known as Krafu, 3 dribble attempts, 2 successful. Fantastic from Emil Kraft. Obviously, Bruno came on. Also had a few as well. Absolutely great to see that from Emil Kraft. Did absolutely fantastic there. Defensively as well. Defensively actions, Emil Kraft. Defensive actions obviously covers tackles, it covers intercepts, blocks, everything like that. So in defensive actions covers all those type of things. Emil Kraft at the top of that. Fabian Schär. It's interesting. That right side of the pitch done really, really well. Nick Pope, obviously, with his saves. Lewis Hall, fantastic from him. 4 clearances included. Block shots from him. 1 block shot from him as well. Absolutely, absolutely phenomenal from him. Sandro Tonali in his defensive actions, 4 from him. Joe Linton, 3 from him. Anthony Gordon, 3 from him. Did really, really well. Lloyd Kelly, fantastic. Really, really good. Really, really good intense work from the guys. Really successful in terms of that. I was really, really proud of them. Block shots, Fabian Schär, Sandro Tonali. We're talking about those block shots. Lloyd Kelly with fantastic interceptions from him. Block shots from him. Interceptions as well. Fabian Schär, Tonali, Longstaff with 2. Again, Emil Kraft, Joe Linton. Brilliant from them all. The passing, and look, very interesting. I want to say about the passing. Typically, what we've seen in the previous games, especially in the last 4 or 5 games, you'd have typically Lewis Hall and Bruno at the top of that with nearly 90 plus touches in this game. In games, but in this game, the highest touches were Fabian Schär and Sandro Tonali, which was about 56, which again points to just how direct we were in our play. It's reflective in our 35% possession stats. It's reflective in the number of long balls and direct long balls as well. And now it's reflective in the touches. So the plan was always to be very, very direct with Chelsea. And if they're going to block and flood that midfield, we're just going to go bypass that midfield and we're going to go straight to our strikers, which we did. So again, accurate passes. So who had the more touches? Fabian Schär, Sandro Tonali, who was doing really well, dropping in deep. Emil Kraft, Joe Linton, Lewis Hall, as always, strong Longstaff, absolutely brilliant from them, and Lloyd Kelly and others. Just people getting on the ball and dictating the play. Accurate passes, Sandro, Fabian Schär, Joe Linton, Sean Longstaff. The more kind of Lloyd Kelly, 90% accurate passes, 27 out of 30 accurate passes. That's absolutely fantastic. Key passes. So the key, when you're talking about key passes, is passes that lead to shots. Sandro Tonali with 3, and remember he's got an assist as well. He created 1 big chance as well. Absolutely phenomenal from him. Kraft was doing that. Alexander Isak, Joe Linton, Anthony Gordon. And fantastic. Sandro Tonali did really, really well. People were saying he should play deep. But look, Bruno's going to play deep. He's our number 6 because we don't know how good. There's no one better than Tonali in terms of his press resistance. I want to say this. There's no one apart. There's very few midfielders in the Premier League who are as press resistant as Bruno Gomes is, especially when he's taking his back to goal. So back to goal, you can be back to goal from anywhere for those. So if you're receiving the ball, especially from your goalkeeper or from your defense, you got your back to goal to the opposition side. and that's when the opposition comes to press you. There's nobody better than Bruno Gomes are doing that. You know, Tonali's okay, but we don't know how good he was. If Chelsea were better in their press, we'll be able to assess that. But there's nobody in the league, or there's not many midfielders in the league who are as press resistant as Bruno Gomes, and that's why he's number 6. And most of those midfielders play for Man City. So I always say that I think at this stage, yes, we all want to see Bruno in an advanced role. So do I. But at this stage, we haven't got that number 6 who can do it as well as he can. But it was very good to see him. Again, go into the I wanted to sort the long ball accuracy. Long ball accuracy, folks, because we was talking about this a lot. We was talking about just how much long balls we were given, how direct we were. Before I go to that, we've got a comment here. Hels Huzar, Kraft's magic run. Yeah, it was. Kraft's magic run was great when he cut from the right to the left. Beautiful. That was beautiful. Just outside the Chelsea box, it was mind-boggling. Krafu! He is Krafu from now on. Long balls, and long ball accuracy. So we weren't just punting it up. Look at this. 14 attempted long balls from Shaw. 9 of those, so more than 50%, about 60% of them got to their man. Absolutely phenomenal from him. Obviously, Nick Pope, 4 out of 12. Again, going very direct, but he's a goalkeeper. So Shaw did absolutely well. He was really outstanding in that. Lewis Hall on balls, 3 attempted from him. Bruno Gomes. Bruno's only there for about 20 minutes. 3 attempted from him. Emil Kraft, Tonali, 2 from Tonali, 2 from Joe Willock. So we're very, very direct, especially from Shaw. You know, so congratulations to Shaw for doing that as well. Nick Pope, a little bit from Nick Pope as well. Really, he really upped our game. Again, when I talk about duels and ground duels, we're talking about our intensity. We were 50% with Chelsea. We just outdone them. We were really, really outdone them. You know, top of that in duels 1, this includes aerial duels and ground duels. 12 attempted from Anthony Gordon, 6 of them were successful. 11 attempted from Joe Linton on the other side, 5 of them successful. 9 from Emil Kraft, 6 of them successful. Absolutely phenomenal. And look at Bruno Gomes, 8 attempted, 5 successful in the 20 minutes or so that he was on the pitch. Absolutely phenomenal from Bruno Gomes, our captain. Absolutely phenomenal from him. 5 and 4 for Fabian, 5 and 3 from Noé Kelly. 4 and 1 from Isak. And if anybody's wondering why our defenders have less duels than the guys up front, it's because we were pressing up so high and doing so well. Hence why Joe Linton, Anthony Gordon, Bruno, and those guys have so many attempted and kind of ground duels, really pressing up high, doing absolutely phenomenally well. Most ground duels, Anthony Gordon, Joe Linton, Emil Kraft, Bruno, doing absolutely fantastic. And guys, so that's, so for me, it's so difficult. It's between Joe Linton, Lewis Hall, and Joe Willock. In terms of man of the match, I'm going to give it to Joe Willock. He set the tone for me. And I think he really encouraged his press and his way of pressing, really encouraged Joe Linton, and it really set the pace. But then obviously others that came in, like Kelly with his block shots, and it's so difficult. But that's why how we played so well. I give it to Joe Willock. But guys, let me know who your man of the match is. So that's Newcastle, that's Chelsea, that's done and dusted. That two games with them is done and dusted. We lost obviously at Stamford Bridge, but we got them back in the League Cup, and we were successful. We led a very good counter press, direct balls from behind, created lots of shots, hit the woodwork twice. Osola played well. Bruno came on, played well. Sean Longstaff played well. Tonali, Joe Linton, Joe Willock for me was the most impressive. Joe Willock and Lloyd Kelly were the most impressive for me. Absolutely phenomenal. But this weekend, we have Arsenal. We are playing Arsenal. What are you guys' thoughts on Arsenal? And what do you think is going to happen in that game? I'm going to share a little bit of stats on Arsenal, and then I'm going to do a little tactical breakdown, how they play in possession, how they play out possession, and how is that going to affect what we're going to do, what is the likely lineup, what are going to be Eddie Howe's tactics. But as always, guys, send in your man of the match, who you think was your man of the match. Like, share, and subscribe. Let me know your thoughts. So let me share my screen. Is it the one I want to show? Arsenal. Where are you? I want to show a few stats about Arsenal. Here we go. Let me make sure you guys can see that. Yes, you can see that. So this is from Opta Analyst. I wanted to show kind of where Arsenal are at. First of all, this season in about 9 games they scored about 17 goals, which is really, really good. They conceded 10 goals as well. This is a map. This is a territorial map. So essentially what it shows is where a team, whether it's Newcastle, in this case obviously it's Arsenal, where they are dominant. The purple, and this is from left to right. So from this side is Arsenal and then the opposition. So the sides that are purple are places where Arsenal have more than 50%, or I think it's more than 55% of total touches. So that's where it kind of is an indicator of kind of territorial dominion. And you can see, and then the grey areas are the parts that are kind of are contested with the opposition. So it's a bit of the opposition, it's a bit of Arsenal, and then the pink areas are where Arsenal don't really have that much territorial dominion. It's where the opposition has the upper hand. Very interestingly, so what you can tell from this is that, which is interesting to me, Arsenal's main total dominion is on the flanks, especially on the right side where, you guessed it, Mr. Bukayo Saka plays, and he's going to be the focus of our attention as well when it comes to this game. So in terms of the stats for Arsenal as a whole, and we're going to see a little bit of Newcastle in this as well. We all know about the defensive back line, always very good, but we're going to start off with the attacking stuff, and we're going to compare them with other teams to kind of get a flavour for what Arsenal are doing. Now, we know they're set piece kings as well, but there's other places that they are doing well. So they score about 1.89. Let me make sure you guys can see this. Yeah, you can see this. So about 1.89 goals per game. So they're doing really, really well. The XG is about 1.63. So it kind of indicates just how well they're doing. They're scoring quite good. So in terms of XGs, of goal actions and goals created, they sit about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So about 8th in the league. We're not too far behind on 1.59. So it kind of gives you a flavor where this game's going to go. So there will be chances created in this game. Goals per XG, so kind of indicates where, okay, are they are they overperforming? Are they underperforming? Goals per XG, so 0.26. So they're overperforming by just a tiny little bit. So it's an indication that, look, they're pretty much on par of where they should be. They've got 17 goals in 9 games, and in terms their goals, in terms of the amount they've created, it's all very much on par. So look, they got kind of, in terms of the offensive side, it's no fluke. They're doing quite well. Newcastle, though, are right at the bottom of the table with Man United, or you've put them at the top of the table. So minus 0.59, where Man United, for instance, are 0.75. What does this mean? What it means is that Newcastle, in terms of expected goals to the chances they created, are underperforming by 0.59. So what it means is that Newcastle, for the chances that they've created, big chances especially, they should have scored probably another 4 or 5 goals, 5 or 6 goals. And if we can think of the penalty miss by Gordon in the Everton game, the recent kind of situation at Stamford Bridge where Isak didn't pass the ball, the situation where Shaw in the Fulham game didn't pass the ball, those type of situations. When we've had one-on-ones against Brighton, Isak had a one-on-one against the goalkeeper, Gordon had a one against the goalkeeper. Those are when you kind of put all those together, Newcastle have been underperforming. So, but this has been the interesting part so far, obviously in the last 4 or 5 games in particular. And you guys, if you guys watched the previous show, Newcastle's cumulative XG, which was sent to us by Kev Lawson. So cumulative meaning from in the 90 minutes, from the 0 to 90 minutes, Newcastle consistently were creating chances in games. So it's not that they have a bit of chances here and they just drop off, or it's just neutral. They continuously were creating chances, but they just were not profiting from them. They were essentially not doing the main metrics, which was the goals themselves, and they were not scoring them. This Chelsea game that we just had now has proved to be the opposite, but we won 2-0. So what I'm saying is that there's plenty to come from Newcastle United. There is plenty to come from Newcastle United, which adds a little bit of flavour coming to this game, in my opinion. So that's the attacking side. And for Arsenal, passing, interestingly, Arsenal, the average possession, to the Arsenal we've known before, 55%, 60% of possession of the ball, they love possession of the ball in previous past, is very different to now. They're kind of they're just below us, actually, in the mid-table area here. I don't know if you guys, let me make sure you guys can see this. Yep, you can see it. They're right next to us. So that might be an indicator of, to me, possibly of, I think I'm going to show this. They have a more direct style of play as well. They're not overly interested in keeping possession. They don't mind the opposition having possession. That's probably because their defense, the overall defense from the team, is very, very solid. So it's going to be a very interesting game from that perspective, and I wonder what Eddie Howe is going to do about that. So they keep the ball as much as we do. Arsenal, final third entries, again, top 4. That's when it goes high, 77%. The fourth best in the league at the moment at that. So final third entries meaning when they're in the position half, how well do they get the ball to their own players when they're in the opposition half? And they're the 4th best team at that. So defensively, Newcastle have to be right on point in terms of that. Newcastle are improving, but they are, somewhere mid-table in their final third entries at the moment. But there are signs of improvement, especially in this Chelsea game, Stamford Bridge game as well. And in the Brighton game, there's a lot higher final third entries. So it's a slow improvement. Now, passing direction, I want to talk about this because it's also an indicator of maybe how direct or not so direct Arsenal might be. Remember, their overall average possession is the same as ours, interestingly. So the forward passes, Everton are the most direct, and we know how Everton play. Interestingly, but and we're 4th. We're 4th in the league for forward passes. So, so that means that we're very, very direct in our style of play. Arsenal, though, are somewhere towards the bottom. So, but they have their moments. They're on 30%, on that. So that indicates that they don't typically like to go as direct, though they did that in the Liverpool game, which I'm going to highlight, in other games as well. So passing to the left, they're like, passing backwards, but they don't pass backwards either, or somewhere towards the middle. We're bottom of that. We rarely do that. And then I think so. Yeah, so there's somewhere mid-table, but passing to the left, where Martinelli, the wingers are. So we're going to talk about their pattern of passing is very much on their wing play. So Martinelli and Bukayo Saka, who I anticipate be playing on that left side, 15% of their passes, so very much high on that. Going on their right side, a little bit lower, 26% to Bukayo Saka's side, 26%. So you can see where they're going to go. So they're not as direct, so they're not going through the center, but they are, and I'm going to show you this. This is their passing pattern. This is quite similar. This is to for instance, the Liverpool game. I'll quickly show you this, guys. Can I show you this? Am I showing you? Yeah. So this is their passing patterns, for instance. against Liverpool. Now, the thicker the lines, the more passing they're doing. Oh, sorry, this is Newcastle. My apologies, guys. Where are you, Arsenal? Is this Arsenal? Yes, it is Arsenal. Can you guys see this? Yes, it's Arsenal. So the thicker the lines is an indicator of how many is it means that is the frequency of passes between these sides. So this is Raya, who almost becomes their fifth man in from the midfield. Obviously, it's pretty thick between their defense, but then it goes very out wide here. Obviously, Bukayo Saka and Thomas Partey, and I think it'd be Ben White in this case. It's a lot really down that right side. Same here again for Sterling on this occasion, but I think it's Martinelli and others. So you can see that the majority of their passing will either go to Bukayo Saka when he's playing, or Martinelli, but the majority will be going not as much through the center. So they don't go directly through the center, which is interesting as well. And that's an indicator also in their stats as well. So the reason why they keep the pass so really well is because they got quality players in the final third, like Bukayo Saka and others. So their style of play is kind of emerging for us. So they're not overly interested in keeping too much possession. They can be direct when they want to be, but they kind of go through their flanks a lot more. So it's a very, very interesting way that they play. And we're going to go into the tactical breakdown, the kind of in terms of the formation. Now we're going to go in terms of the. Let me go first. Let me first talk about. I didn't mention the defensive side, which is their strong point. So the defensive actions, tackles. They don't have to make too many. Some are mid-table. I don't think that's an indicator, but I wonder why their interceptions are so low. So they're towards the bottom of the league for interceptions. I wonder why. Maybe someone can tell me here. Recoveries, blocks. They make a ton of blocks, really. Ground duels 1. I expect that to be high. No, towards the bottom. Why is that? Aerial duels 1. Towards the bottom. Oh, no, towards, like a mid-table. I wonder why that is. I can't figure out why their defensive stuff is so low. I can only think because they either keep the ball well. It's so interesting. They conceded 10 goals. That's such an interesting stat. Such an interesting stat from them. Let me know what you guys think. Why are some of their defensive actions so low? I can only think that maybe teams are maybe intimidated. I have no idea. But that is Arsenal. So I'm going to go to the tactical breakdown. So we're going to look at Arsenal in possession, and we're going to talk about Arsenal out of possession. So here we go. I've chosen the team as well. Guys, let me know who you would have played. Let me make sure you guys can see this. Can you see this? Brilliant. I wish I had a drink of water next to me, but that's cool. So look, what we're learning so far is Arsenal's average possession, very similar to Newcastle. In terms of also the direction of their passing, they're in terms of forward passing, they're not as direct as other teams as Newcastle. So Newcastle are far more direct in their passing than Arsenal are. They're more to the left or to the right side. They kind of do a build up through their wing play as well, and you can see that through their passing patterns as well. So it's their wing play. So you're going to have that Bukayo Saka and Lewis Hall matchups. You're going to have that Martinelli Livramento matchups as well. It's going to be very, very interesting from that point of view as well. So tactically, when Eddie Howe is setting up, he's going to be thinking about how he's going to set up Newcastle in that particular way. So look, Arsenal, in terms of out of possession, set up in a 4-4-2, and I want to give credit to Tifo. So I went to them and others to kind of see how Arsenal play essentially. So what Arsenal like to do, so it's not overly clear. So I've got for them, first of all, team selections: Havertz, Trossard, Saka, Marino. Mikel Marino, we're going to welcome him back. Declan Rice, Kivior, Saliba, Ben White, and Timber. But there's a bit of mystery about whether Mr. Gabriel Magalhaes is fit. We'll find out. But I've put Kivior for now. But it could be Gabriel who's back. So without the ball, what's very, very interesting about this is obviously you can see Nick Pope here has the ball. So Newcastle obviously, for instance, got the ball. Arsenal are without the ball, how they kind of set up, and they set up in a kind of 4-4-2 type of formation. But what's interesting about this is, so what they're going to try and do, for instance, through Kai Havertz and Trossard, is ensure that Nick Pope can't get the ball centrally to Bruno. The whole aim of this is trying to get Newcastle to, and their opposition in general, but in this case, it would be Newcastle, to pass out wide. And this way they can dictate the play where it's coming from. So if Newcastle either Nick Pope goes long and passes out wide, where they kind of trust their defense, their big defenders, their 6 foot plus defenders to kind of deal in one-on-one situations with the opposition, or kind of go out wide where they can then set up traps to try and win the ball back and to recycle it. The other interesting thing about a 4-4-2, what you guys will see centrally here, you think, okay, but what if Pope or Shaw, for instance, are able to get the ball to Bruno here? He's free to turn around, and then you've got Isak and Joe Linton and Gordon making moves. What Arsenal try to do with their really proactive centre backs, is either be Saliba or it'll be Gabriel Magalhaes, is push up real high here and try to and help their defense to win, help their midfield to win the ball up high. So essentially it turns into a 3-3-4 situation, a 3-3-4 situation like this. So they kind of recycle the ball like this, and their wingers, be it Saka here, also can join in, either go on the inside, Martinelli here go on the inside, and then and are available passing options for them, causing that kind of overflooding here. So it's imperative that Livramento and Lewis Hall here make sure that they follow Saka, they follow Martinelli each and every way as well. But Eddie Howe will know this. So I'm wondering from his perspective if essentially we've been going really, really direct recently. But I don't always think going direct through Nick Pope, for instance, might be the answer. If Arsenal, they want to set up Newcastle, they want to be able to set up traps here. Willie Saliba trying to get the ball off Bruno. Can Bruno, for instance, get around him? It's going to be very, very difficult. Can him and Tonali, for instance, have 1-2 set up for Isak and Gordon? And can they kind of hit them that way? Would we be forced to go out wide, for instance, as well? Lewis Hall, our left side in particular, you guys would have seen, joining up here with Joe Linton and Willock. They will be joining in. How far can Bruno draw out William Saliba even further closer to him, leaving the space? And what Isak has been doing really recently very well, is dropping in. So can he drop in? Would Kivia have to follow him? If he might be hesitant to do that, because then he leaves space for Gordon and Tonali. So you might see a lot of Isak dropping in, Gordon trying to fill the spaces, maybe Tonali trying to fill the spaces, then forcing Declan Rice and others to have to follow them as well. Those type of situations. Or again, Lewis Hall getting on the ball, Saka trying to close him down, Willock coming in. Though this kind of triangle here being formed between them to try and get the ball up the field as well. It's going to be very, very important about how, and Newcastle have been doing this really, really well, playing the ball out from the back. So if Arsenal are going to be this aggressive, which they will be, is how can we exploit the space, this temporary space that's maybe caused out the back here, or kind of fill these gaps here as well. Isak's going to be a main target man for Arsenal to focus on. So can he create these type of spaces, maybe for Tonali, for Gordon to fill in and to kind of be a nuisance that way, to stretch the play that way as well. On the other side, for instance, when Fabian Schär has the ball, I've chosen Kelly, by the way, to play, though I think, in my view, Eddie Howe will go with Dan Burn, and that's mainly because of the set piece situation. Arsenal are so deadly from set pieces that I think Eddie Howe will pay attention to that, and he'll keep Burn. Though I would really want him to take the risk and keep Lloyd Kelly on, because I think he just provides a brilliant balance. The aim will be if he's not playing, obviously, he's trying to get Shah on the ball as much as possible. His long balls have been absolutely fantastic. Timber's got good pace. How good a pace? How can, Gordon's going to be vital in that kind of stretching the play when the ball goes over the top. Is the main thing for us is going to be trying to break these gaps with Arsenal. They're so disciplined in going back. But can these gaps be, when the ball goes direct like this, and these little gaps start to form? So if Gordon chases it down, and then you've got Tonali, you got Tonali, you got Bruno, you got Joe Linton and Willock in particular, trying to fill these gaps here. Can these type of situations start forming for Newcastle? And it just provides Gordon with something to, maybe a Tonali here to come in for support, Willock making in runs, Isak making in runs, and kind of open up the Arsenal midfield that way. So I think I do envisage Newcastle going direct. But what's important for Newcastle is not to go too direct, too quickly, and too predictably, because then what happens is that we become predictable, and it allows Arsenal to then start recycling the ball, keeping the ball better, working it around us, tiring our players out, and it's just causing a whole heap of headache for Newcastle United that way. So, Arsenal have a very, very good system in terms of that kind of 4-4-2. They're going to try force us out wide. They're going to try press us in the middle. This is how they kind of gain a lot of kind of advantage through that next man in the middle. They do it differently to Chelsea, who like their fullback to invert a lot in terms of that. But that Rice, Marino, Trossard partnership is going to be very, very, how they match up against Bruno, Tonali, and Joe Linton, and Joe Willock is going to be very, very interesting. It's going to be very, very interesting. But Arsenal, look, they've only conceded 10 goals. They've scored 17. That's very clear in terms of how they do. So I envisage Newcastle going directly as quickly as possible and trying to break these lines. Arsenal are going to try and control that center of the midfield through their counter press. They're going to try and set traps. They're going to invite Newcastle to try and pass the ball to Bruno, and they're going to do they're going to be very, very quick in trying to close him down and trying to cause a situation. Havertz would also be trying to drop in as well. The other thing they like to do is through Timber to push up like this and allow Rice to go up high here and create these type of overloads. So again, Tonali, Gordon is going to have to be active in trying to support Livramento. That side, and Shah is going to have to be alive to Havertz. And what they like to do is cause these overloads here. So the team moves over and shifts Trossard, and then they'll be trying to, then Saka will be trying to come in as well. So then they kind of form these type of situations like this, trying to cause these overloads here and get in the middle as well. So Newcastle have to be very, very physical, winning their ground duels, being strong, being direct, and make sure that they give Arsenal something to think about. They don't just think they can just ambush us, essentially. So there's Arsenal without the ball, who are very, very good. Let me share this one as well. So this is Arsenal with the ball. Arsenal are also very, very good with the ball. What do you guys think so far? What do you think Newcastle have to do to kind of break out of that situation? So this is Arsenal with the ball. What they like to do, with the ball, it becomes a 4-3-3, but that kind of changes into a 3-4-3. Changes into a 3-4 from a 4-3-3 to a 3-4-3. I'll show you how. Or it changes to a 3-3-4 actually, but I'll show you how. So look, if you can see here, it starts off here with Ray of the ball, for instance. What happens is you'll get Timber joining in, very similar to Kukurea, but in a different way. You'll have Timber going in here. You'll have, as I mentioned, Rice pushing up, Martinelli causing these type of overloads here to try and get the ball. And you'd have seen with the passing patterns I showed you guys earlier. Make sure you guys can see this. Can you see this? Yeah. You can see these overloads that I start causing here. And then that's how they try to get the ball up wide. Very similar. So if you change from Rice to Timber, you then get very, very similar here with Ben White joining in, Marino going out, for instance, Marino staying here, Ben White joining in here. So there's a good relationship between Ben White and Saka, and trying to get the ball out wide this way as well, so causing these overloads again. And this is how it come out. So when you actually go to the other end of the pitch, and this is what Newcastle have to be wary of as well. We've got them pushing us back. Leave the ball here. Saka, Ben White, Marino. It's a very clever way to kind of overload the midfield, but without getting caught in a transition. So Arsenal, I don't think they've conceded a goal in transition just yet, actually. Willock here, Isak here, Joe Linton here. What they have to be, Livramento obviously here, Tonali here. What Arsenal would try and do, especially when they have Gabriel and Saliba, they will cause these type of overloads. So they'll almost have two defenders up here, and they'll have Timber joining in with Trossard. So this is how they get the dominion in the middle of the park. Timber joining in with Trossard, Marino, Ben White. This allows Saka the option of either, for instance, Saka or Martinelli, the option of either going on the inside or the outside, depending on what Havertz does. So Havertz is here. Trossard, again, flooding that middle part of the midfield. Trossard would be in a more advanced area. So it's either Trossard and Havertz going through the middle like this. Saka possibly going out wide or here. Same thing with Martinelli. Where are you, Gordon? Gordon's here. Tonali's here. Martinelli going inside or wide again. Or you'll have Havertz dropping in to collect the ball with Saka, Martinelli taking up these spaces in the middle. 3 gaps as well. So this is going to be important for Willock and for Tonali and for our midfield to ensure that they track these runs from Martinelli and Saka to make sure these through balls don't get through from, to either Saka, to Martinelli and others. So to make sure that we have to be able to block them off. So it's a very, very good way that Arsenal kind of create these kind of layers in the midfield areas, and that's how they kind of get that dominion and get that control. So what do Newcastle have to do to combat that? Well, I'll show you from this as well, but I'll show you guys from this in a moment. So Arsenal, like I said, mentioned, they overload these midfielders, Timber joining in, Marino, Trossard, and you'll have Saka either being able to go through the central areas or the outside areas, very similar to Martinelli and others as well. Declan Rice, Timber, Marino, tall, all of them really tall guys, strong, and they have the confidence in their defense to have 2 guys back sometimes. They'll be risking it against an Isak and Gordon, but they'll back themselves to do it. So what can Newcastle do in terms of being able to try to what's their weakness? How can Newcastle hit back at Arsenal? Before we get to that, I've got my man Chinks FaZe here. Big up to you, Chinks. Good to see you, sir. Thank you for your support. Chinks FaZe, I'm always on with him on Spurs Kings, where we kind of do rival talks and stuff like that. But he's a great guy, incredible content creator, and a big Arsenal fan. So guys, do welcome him. He's absolutely incredible. My guy in Toon, big up to you, man. Hit the likes, guys. Hit the likes, people. Please do hit the likes and like, share, and subscribe. Keep it up, bro. Thank you, sir. Thank you. So I've got a few highlights here from the Bournemouth game and from the Arsenal game of how what teams have done. I'm going to go to Bournemouth. Now, we know that one of the goals, that game was controversial for different reasons, but I've seen that they, as all teams can be, are susceptible to direct play, which is something that Newcastle are very good at. So let me make sure you guys can see this. Can you guys see this on the screen? Excellent. Right. So you guys can see it here. The Bournemouth game, I'm going to show you the incident that led to, I think it was Saliba getting sent off. And it was very, very interesting here. As you guys can see it here, Bournemouth are here in the, I think it's in the light blue. No, no, light blue. Arsenal are in the light blue. Bournemouth obviously are in the red and in the red and in the red and black. Now, this is probably a bad example because it's Trossard who made the bad pass here, and it went over the defense. But because what I want to be able to highlight here is because, as we kind of saw in the tactical board here, it's only Saliba. And I think it's Ben. Who's number 4? Is it Declan Rice? Chinks Face, if you're here, is it Trossard? Trossard didn't want it. He didn't want it. He sends this hell pass, but because Arsenal only keep 2 men at the back, as you guys can see, they've got 3-4 guys that we can see here. They do such a great job, kind of keeping men in that final third. We mentioned how they're the top 4 in the league for passes in the final third. You can see how, because they keep these 2 guys at the front here, a bad pass from Trossard. And you got even Nielsen setting off. And now, because it's such a high risk situation, you can only imagine if that's Isak or if that's Gordon, if that's Joe Willock, you're going to have to be forced in a situation. You have to make this type of situation. Saliba's going to have to think twice about making these type of challenges. So my point is, they leave themselves very, very vulnerable. And within the same game, this is now within the same game, Bournemouth obviously later scored from the penalty from a corner kick, but Arsenal also conceded a penalty. Let me get this. And how did they concede this penalty? Well, almost from a direct situation of a direct ball, a direct pass. So here we go. Let me show you this, guys. Let me show you guys can see on the screen. Here's Bournemouth celebrating. Can I catch it? I always want to catch it right because I want to be able to get it. Here we go. So again, in that same game, a direct ball over the top is what hurts Arsenal. Ben White. It was Ben White. So it's Ben White and Saliba. Okay, so it'll probably be the same in this game as well. And now this is fast forwarding in the same game again. So this time Arsenal are in the opposition half. They got this time, as you guys can see to the right hand of the screen, they got 3 guys at the back. I think it's Saliba, Calafiori, and is Ben White again. This time they got 3 guys at the back. You can see another 6 guys, Arsenal guys on the other end. And now they've lost the ball now. It's broken towards Bournemouth. Bournemouth waste no time at all here. And they go direct, straight. They've only got 1 guy there. Again, but because it's over the top, all the Arsenal players now have to turn around. And if you've got a bit of pace and desire, you can cause all sorts of direction. And this is where it happens here also. You've got this gap between the defense and the midfield as a result of 1 long ball. Now, I think it's Ben White. Is it Ben White here again, FaZe, if you're here? I think it's Ben White. Is it Ben White that makes this a mistake? Bad pass, error that leads to an error. The Bournemouth man follows it through, gets tackled by Raya, and the penalty. So now in the same game, we've had 2 situations where 1 ball over the top, even though it was by mistake through Trossard, leads to a situation where it's a one between a Bournemouth player and Saliba. Saliba tackles him, gives away a red card. Now this is an actual long ball from a Bournemouth player to. There's only 1 Bournemouth player that was running onto it again, which leads to an Arsenal error and a penalty. So this way of playing in terms of how Arsenal are doing, which is very solid, but it is also very vulnerable to a direct play over the top. Now, Bournemouth don't have a Gordon. They don't have a Isak. They don't have a Joe Linton or Joe Willock. Guys have pace and power to that element. And if Arsenal play this way away to Newcastle, it could be very, very interesting. I'm going to go to the Liverpool game where the long balls over the top or direct balls over the top were far more intentional than Bournemouth's were. And it's what led to the goals that are there. Let me share this tab instead. Now, before I do that though, I'll go back to it because Saka's goal was very similar. But I will share this tab. Can you guys see this? You can. I'm gonna read the comments before I do that. Oh, Hels Hazard, I nearly deleted that by accident. Hels Hazard, Shah is our lad for the balls over the top with the crossfield passes. He is indeed. He is indeed. I think that's Kivior. FaZe, do you know if you're here still, is Gabriel playing? I wonder if he's fit enough to play. So that was Kivior. He's going to be shaky at St. James's Park with a back pass. It was Kivior with a back pass. Okay. If he's going to be shaky like that at Bournemouth, I hope he's going to be shaky like that against us in St. James's Park. Put it that way. So this is Arsenal. Can you guys see this? Yeah, you can. All right. So this is Arsenal against Liverpool. As you guys can see, this is in Liverpool's final third. There's about how many Liverpool players? Liverpool are in black or grey kit there. You've got how many Arsenal players? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 Arsenal players in Liverpool's half, and about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Liverpool players in the Arsenal half. The other 3, just out of the screen on the other side. And I think it's I have a Szoboszlai Diaz that picks it up and gets off to, is it Nunez? No, Trent. Out of all the players you don't want to get the ball, it's Trent. And look, because Arsenal do keep this high line, everybody's vulnerable to it, but they've got such big, athletic, speedy, technical guys. That's why they do it. You don't blame them. Again, I think they had a number of changes in this though, and I think if they were able, I think they had a number of injuries. I think Gabriel went off, so I think it's Ben White here. Maybe Declan Rice and Skelly. And you've got 2 Liverpool players that set off. 1 long ball, again, direct, over the top. And Arsenal, there's all sorts of panic now. This is a bad situation. And you've got 2, Nunez, it's Nunez and Salah. Salah with a very intelligent run over Arsenal player. I think it's number 4, is it Kivior again? He goes over to Nunez. Salah's free, and it leads to a goal. So it's those direct balls over the top that cause all sorts of problems. And for any team, it caused massive problems for Chelsea, and we was able to really, really hurt them. And so they was able to hurt them. This is again something that Newcastle will be able to do. And as kind of mentioned, Shaw, and I think it would be good to have Ray Kelly being able to stay. Maybe when Bruno or Tonali drop deep, getting those borders off to Isak, to Gordon, to Joe Willock, to those guys over there, hitting it directly and just trying to break those really solid, organized Arsenal lines, get them facing their own goal and try to create those gaps between midfield and attack, or try to get into the penalty box, try to cause mayhem. That'll be the best way forward. Having said all of that, and I'll read the comments. It's not just us that can do direct long balls. Arsenal can do it too, and it's in the same Liverpool game here. Literally, how Salah scores his goal. We mentioned that in terms of Arsenal's direct play, they prefer from the stats to go left or right. And when you got Saka, when you got Martinelli, and you can see how they build up, you'd have sometimes Havertz dropping in deep, and you have Saka and Martinelli then filling those spaces in center as well. It's a very good way of, it's a very kind of layered way of attack from Arsenal, but they're not afraid to go direct, and they do this to very, very good effect against Liverpool. This is, I think, in the first 5 minutes, I think, as well. Who picks it up here? I think it's Ben White. Oh gosh, here we go. Let me get it on the screen. I think it's Ben White who picks it up. Now it's Liverpool players. Again, there's four Liverpool players at the front trying to press. 2 in midfield here. They're forcing Arsenal back. So Arsenal just say, "Look, it's okay. We're not gonna do that." He picks it up. Direct ball to who? Mr. Saka. Mr. Saka 101 with Robertson, and look, if he can do this to Robertson, he can do this to Lewis Hall, who's been playing really well. He had a good game against Madueke and others, but Saka isn't Madueke. Saka is. I'm going to say on the show, it's not because FaZe is here, but FaZe, Saka for me has entered world class levels now. At this moment in time, at 9:56 p.m., Saka is a world-class player. And this is the reason why. We just showed a long ball over the top, one-on-one with Robinson, causing all sorts of havoc. Again, you can see Havertz, who had dropped in deep here, is now following up as well, but he doesn't need to. Saka manages to get the ball. Incredible finish. Incredible finish. So Newcastle have also got to be ready and prepared for that when they're pushing up high, and to see that Arsenal can do the same thing. They're not always going to try and do structured and relatively slower kind of attacks. They have that in their arsenal, but they can, excuse me the pun, but they can also go direct. So Newcastle have to be willing to, in these type of situations here, when they're pushing up high. Can you guys see that? Yeah, you can see that. When Arsenal aren't afraid. If we're going to be pressing up high as we did against Chelsea, Ben White, Timber. I'm not going to be as neat as I was because I want to. Who's that? Martinelli, Saka, Marino is here. Trossard is here. Havertz is here. They're not afraid at all. If we're going to press up so high, as we did against Chelsea, in a very, very good way, in a coordinated manner, Arsenal are not afraid to just say, all right, enough is enough. Let's see what you can do when we hit it long. So Ben White or Saliba, who have it in their arsenal, to just hit it long to Saka from here. Test Lewis Hall. This is why I prefer Kelly to play rather than Burn in the situation. And I think Kelly's performance against Chelsea earns that. Saka can do this on his own, where he can go by a part, where he can collect the ball and maybe go past one or two players and set it off on his left foot and hit it and score. So Newcastle have to be wary for that, and they have to get their press right. You saw that goal against Liverpool. Liverpool stood off, and they should have probably pressed from the beginning and hurt them to try and prevent that kind of pass. So Newcastle have to be wary of that. So that's us talking about it from kind of doing the tactical breakdown. We talked about Newcastle. We did a review of the Chelsea game, how our press, our coordinated press won the match, our direct play, our physicality, our duels. Those are the things that actually enabled us to create goals and really suffocate Chelsea. And we played a good structured defensive 5-4-1 formation in the second half, where they couldn't break us down. We won the game. Some outstanding performances from Kelly, from Willock, from Hall, from Isak, from Gordon, from Tonali. Outstanding performance for me. Joe Willock was man of the match for that game, but there's some really, really good other players as well. Then going into this Arsenal game, we saw their passing patterns. They prefer to use their flanks. That's where they have most of the dominion, especially on Saka's side, who is a world-class player. I've got here, I saw FaZe commenting on that. FaZe, where are you? So Gabriel's a doubt. Kivior again with the mistake. Kivior again was it. FaZe, Gabriel is so important. He's the leader of the defense. He organizes everything. He does. Yes, and finally for Saka. Saka is world class as of today. So Arsenal style of play, very, very good in terms of, so they, as we mentioned, it'll be Timber, for instance, kind of tucking into that midfield, similar to how Correa does for Chelsea, but not as advanced always. It allows Declan Rice to push up instead, and it allows those kind of overloads on their wings with Martinelli and others, or if they do on the other side through Ben White. And you would have seen there's a lot of good passing, intricate passing between Ben White and Saka. They have a good connection. Either one collects the ball, one goes on the outside, or Saka goes on the inside. They do it really, really well. And so that's on the left side with Joe Willock, Joe Linton, and Hall. So those guys are gonna have to be really, really on point in terms of following Arsenal from that kind of making sure they do their best to keep Saka as quiet as possible. But we've also got to be kind of attacking in our way. And we've seen the vulnerabilities that Arsenal have. Sometimes they leave 2 players at the back, sometimes 3. And if you hit that direct over the top, and if you've got powerful players of pace like we do, pace and power with Gordon, Isak, Joe Linton, Joe Willock, you can cause Arsenal to create errors. And their discipline, the one weakness they do have is their discipline. 3 red cards in 9 games is enough to let you know that it could be a problem for them. And they've had their fair share of red cards at St. James's Park as well. So there's a lot there. But Arsenal come in with 17 goals in 9 games, 10 conceded. They distribute the ball very well. They're not overly concerned with possession, though they're good at keeping possession. They can go direct, but they will use their flanks when possible, really. So it's going to be a very, very intriguing battle. I wonder how it's going to do. It's deadly to be kind of do a mid-block because they'll just hit the ball over the top, that type of thing. So I kind of envisage Newcastle really, really pressing Arsenal up high. Same way Arsenal will be pressing Newcastle high as well and trying to take dominion in that center of the field. I think we showed it previously. Have I still got it up? Yeah. So these kind of situations where, look, Timber will join Marino, Ben White will push up, Declan Rice will push up here on the sides here. And if Newcastle are not careful, they'll be in a situation where they're pinned to the back if they allow Arsenal to kind of have that sort of dominion in the center of the midfield as well. So they're going to have to be ready to kind of be in a position where they're hitting the ball over the top as well, or try, if they're going to risk playing it out from the back, they better be ready to make sure they do so successfully, because Arsenal are very, very good in the counter press, in my opinion. So that's the conclusion. I do think Eddie will do a high press, probably in the first 15, 20 minutes, very similar to the Chelsea game. He'd want to see if Arsenal are awake and try to hit them, but he has to be careful that Arsenal aren't afraid to go direct as well. He might change it up. He'll know that maybe Arsenal are expecting that as well. So it's going to be very interesting. Maybe he might be a little bit more reserved. Maybe it might be a situation where it's hot potato, where maybe Newcastle aren't overly interested in keeping the ball and they don't mind Arsenal having the ball. We'll protect the centre of the midfield and keep them out of it, force them out wide, and then try to collect the second or third ball and then go directly to Gordon, go directly to Isak and others, and trying to break those lines. It might be that sort of situation. So there's options there for Newcastle. So that's the conclusion. I'm going to give my prediction and we'll go to the end of the show. For all those that have stayed for the whole 2 hours, big up to you. Big up to you, Chink's Face, as well, for coming on. Really appreciate you here. And for all you guys that are here, send in your predictions. I'm going to give mine. I'm going to read a few comments, but send in your prediction, guys. Let me know how you think this game is going to pan out. What do you think is going to be the score? Kiwi Spurs TV, big up to Toon Tactics, big up to you, sir. I don't know if we've met before. I feel like we have, possibly. I don't know. But big up to you. Thank you for coming on the show as well. Really appreciate you, sir. Hels Huzzar, I just want to see Arteta's tears. Please make the man cry. Yeah, the guy. Chinks doesn't do this, but a lot of Arsenal fans to this day are still complaining about last year when we won that game and everything else. It's incredible that this has lasted to this long. I find it incredibly amazing. Helsazar, my prediction is 2-1 to Newcastle. Very positive, very good from you. Very good to see that. Very, very, very good to see that. I like to see the positivity. All right, so my prediction. Arsenal are an excellent team in possession and out possession. They've scored 17 goals, in 9 games. They conceded 10. So they're not invulnerable defensively. And we've seen how vulnerable they can be, especially if a team goes direct. If Bournemouth can score 2 goals against against Arsenal, with and their players aren't quite to the same caliber as ours, in my opinion, Newcastle can do this the same. And I think we've got that bit of confidence from that Chelsea win, which was a very convincing win as well. So I think the scoreline will be 2-2. I hope Helsfazar is right and it's 2-1 to Newcastle, but I think the scoreline will be 2-2. And I think the goals will come from, I think Isak will get his third goal in 3 games. And the second goal will be the second goal for Newcastle will be, I have a feeling we're going to get a goal from set piece, Dan Burn, if he plays. But I got Kelly. No, Kelly. I hope Kelly plays, and I hope Kelly gets the goal. I'm going to go for 2-2. Kelly and Isak with the goals. Final comments here. Hels Huzar, the reason for my score is the Toon are getting better and better with each game. And I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that. I do agree with that. Hels Huzar, I just want to see Tonali score from a set piece. So do I. So do I. So, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. We reviewed the Chelsea game. We did the preview for the Arsenal game. We've got it on the weekend as well. Do look forward to that. I'm going to have a midweek show next week as well. I'm going to have a match review, a quick match review video after the game on, was it Saturday or Sunday? I can't remember. Is it Saturday we're playing? Do look out for that. I'm going to have a midweek show on Tuesday for you folks as well. Lots of transfer news and information and some positivity as well about Piff, about Eddie Howe. I know rivals are begging that Piff drop Newcastle and buy their club. It's not happening, guys. So we're very much the crown jewel in their empire. And so you hopefully will see Newcastle on the rise as well. So that's 2-2 from me. 2-1 from Hels Huzar. Guys, do even after the show continue to send your predictions. But as always, guys, for all those that have been here from the beginning to the end, or whenever you join, guys, for all your comments, your suggestions, and just your company really through this evening, I do very much appreciate it. Let me know if you prefer for me to be coming on at a later time. On Tuesday, I came on at 10 p.m. There's a lot more of you folks here. I think that's a time that suits a lot of people. But if you, I came on 8:30 today. But if 10 p.m., let me know if 10 p.m. works for you guys. 8:30 p.m., I don't mind. I'll do that as well. So do let me know. Couple comments before I go. Hels Huzar, cheers, man. Keep it up. Mate, I'm also watching NUFC TV channel as well, so I've had moments of silence. See if you can get in that show. It's cool tonight. I was there this week. I didn't know there was on today, so yeah, I might. If it works for people, do let me know, guys. I might come on. I might just do it. Push the show back to 10 p.m. If you guys want to, obviously, you guys want to watch NUFC TV, you might want to watch me. So look, if it helps, I'm coming a bit later. Do let me know. And the final comment from Davey Eddie. Cheers, Philip. Great stuff. A late winner for the Toon. Big up to you. Big up to you, Davey. And you did tell me to be positive last time for the Arsenal game. I was going to say 3-1, didn't I? But I said 2-1 instead. And you said, no, be positive or whatnot. And we ended up winning 2-0. So well done to you guys. But big up to you guys. Well done. Thank you again. Always appreciate your company, your comments, everything else. And as always, folks, make sure you take care of yourselves. Until next time, take care and God bless, folks.